Good afternoon, we are Group 8. Today we are going to present our final report on Type C regarding the settlement problems in Locust Park. This will be the presentation flows of today. When we realized that housing problem is actually a very urgent problem in Hong Kong, and that many people are desired of having their own flat. So when considering about buying their own flat, they were actually considering factors about down payment, monthly payments, the location, and the age of the buildings. However, what about the settlement problems of the buildings? We found out that actually very few people pay attention to this problem. So in our report, we would like to raise the awareness of different people in the settlement problems, not until when the cracks appears or the neglection of some terms of responsibility in the contract. And we would also like to clarify the responsibilities of different parties in responding for the immediate repayment actions and having the fair contracts for different parties. Also, we would like to monitor about the regular measurements in settlement problems of building departments and follow the yardsticks. In our report, we will mainly focus on Locust Park in Cheung Kwan O. Cheung Kwan O is actually a reclaimed area, and we found out that there are possible causes of having settlements. The first will be the usual phenomenon of some reclaimed land, which will be having settlements a few years after the constructions. Also, there will be some construction inefficiency by governments or some construction company, which leads to the collapse of soils or some shortening of piles. And we found out the main situation of Locust Park now is that there are some settlement risks because of 8 meters of the marine clay and soil is not clear from the ground. Therefore, we would like to measure about the settlement problem in Locust Park by using the level and the SAF, and we will measure it twice within a month.
Now I'll talk about details of our measuring. Our measuring location is at Locust Park inside in Cheung Kwan O near the Shrewsbury International School in Hong Kong. We have selected our 4 measuring stations based on an existing government benchmark number 221095, which is our station A labeled here. And the remaining 3 stations location is labeled B, C, D right on our map here. And we have set up a total of 3 measuring spots in between 4 of our stations. Also, we have total of 2 measuring dates, which is the first of our measurement is at 22nd of April, and the second one is on the 13th of May. So now let's take a look at our measuring workflow. The first station that we measure is the benchmark station, which is the existing government benchmark, which is the red circle here under the bridge. And then we have measured point B1, which is our own selected measuring station. After that, we have measured point B2 and point C1. And following is the point C2 and point D. You can see that in our photo, most of our station is set near the cycling track. Therefore, there may be a problem that there are nearby pedestrian as well as cyclists. Therefore, during our measurement, we have to be careful that there are group members needs to be responsible to keep away pedestrian as well as cyclists in order for safety of our measurement as well as accuracy of our measurement.
We have taken 4 stations named A, B, C, D, and we found out that there is actually a differential settlements in sections A, B, and C, D. Within the benchmark point A6.086 above the HKPD, there's actually settles in point B1, which is 0.55 cms. And whilst the back size A is remain unchanged as the previous figures. Back size B2 and C2s, at these sessions, the figures is the same with the previous numbers, but with the settled in the point B, there will be a uniform settlements in section BC. And We also find out a suspected differential settlements in section CD, as point D is further settled by 0.28 cms, whilst the backside C2 is remained unchanged. So the total settlements is 0.83 cms in the whole sections AD.
So as mentioned, there's a 0.8 cm settlement in Lewis Park. It seems like no big deal compared with the warning standard, which is 3 cm. However, it is important to be reminded it is just happening within a month, and it's also expected that the situation will be further deteriorating. The issue actually has significant impacts to the society. Firstly, it affects residents' quality of life. One noticeable example would be about the incident in Awning Garden. 96 defects are found due to ground settlement, such as cracks in walls and also snaps. And in the worst case, the air and moisture can be get into the concrete, leading to more carbonation and also eventually leading to concrete spoiling and also cracking as a further cycle. And the land subsidence also lead to the burst pipes under pressure, such as traffic loss, and this will enable the users cannot access to water and gas, causing inconvenience to their daily life. There are also significant economic impacts. For example, the residents have to spend money to seal up the cracks and also repair the piles. With the deficiency and also unfavorable appearance, the buyers may have lower confidence towards the developers and also their responsible construction. This may lead to a lower property price, like the case of Millennium Tower in San Francisco.
Let us look at the short-term recommendations suggested by our group. Firstly, the government should disclose settlement data regularly. We can see that there is a lack of transparency in dealing with this issue. And one of the major causes of the settlement problem is that the government allowed the property developers to build on reclaimed land once they receive the right to do it, without waiting for the land to be fully settled. The government should inform the public the trade-off they made for alleviating the serious shortage of property supply in the market. They should also explain the reason why they do it in order to alleviate the settlement problem. And the second recommendation would be to provide financial support to the victims. They should give subsidies or other allowances to any repairman work on the damages, and to especially, for example, the leakage of water pipes. The third recommendation is to establish an effective mechanism to notify the district council to the possible adverse consequences on buildings and roads. Since the settlement problem of the Changwon-O district, including the Lohas Park area, is pretty abnormal according to some experts of civil engineering, the government should provide some guidelines with reference to the experience of other countries to enhance the coordination of repairman work and to prevent the possible crisis to happen in the future.
For the long-term recommendation, I believe that contracting legislation is one way to go. As you can see that from the extract of the title deed, it states that the government shall be under no liability to the grantees, its successors, or assigns in respect of such costs, fees, charges, and expenses. That means that the buyers or the grantees have the full responsibility to bear the costs and expenses regarding the settlement problem, which seems unfair to them. And you can see that from the 6 100-page sale and purchase agreement, it is very difficult for the buyers to read through before they actually signing the contract. So in order to combat with this issue, the government can formulate fair terms and conditions requirement to the suppliers of the flats to better balance the rates between the buyers and sellers. Second, it can also set up the cooling off period in order to allow more time for the decision maker of the buyers, such as discussing with their friends or consulting the lawyers regarding the potential problem of the flats. Third, it should provide full disclosure of the potential risk in the contract to allow a more comprehensive assessment to the buyers regarding the settlement problem, the potential expenses, and a problem that would occur in the future. Here is the second long-term recommendation, which is the strict preloading requirement, which can be set by the government. Nowadays, there are 3 possible preloading methods, which is very common. The first one would be field, second one would be vacuum pressure, and the third one would be vacuum pressure and combined field. And here is an example of the vacuum preloading method, which allows an isotropic consolidation of soil before the construction in order to minimize the effects of the ground settlement and help the buyers to better evaluate the consequences.
Here are some limitations of our study. First, originally we have chosen the better alternative of the observation point that locate on the stairs. However, considering a safety issue, we have moved the observation point to the ground, and that may slightly influence the results of our study. And the short time span with field samplings is another limitations. Since our observation period is only 1 month, and we can only collect 2 samples within this short period of time. Therefore, the field sampling size may not totally reflect the settlement rate. Moreover, all the procedure, setting, and observations are from the manpower, and the results of the settlement may partly came from our manual error. If the result of the settlement is insignificant, the ratio of the manual error to the settlement result may increase. To conclude, in our study, we can find that there is a slight effect of a settlement in lowest part, and that may bring out the community impacts in terms of social and economics. Therefore, the government, developers, and citizens need to work on it together in order to build up a better society. And this is the end of our presentation. Thank you.